So what I found interesting in Macbeth, right off the bat, after reading the story, was um, the aspect of letting too much power kind of get to your head, um, which could ultimately, probably 8 to 9 times out of 10, lead to inevitable corruption, which we eventually saw. Um, the relationship between male and female roles in the story was very evident to me. Very kind of those two perspectives. For example, when Macbeth was kind of he was trying to come up with ways not to kill King Duncan. Lady Macbeth was, being the female, was kind of in the background, kind of planning this out and being kind of the brains of the operation, and was like, "No, you need to do this." Like pushes, like kind of pushing Macbeth to finally perform the deed of killing King Duncan. Um, what I kind of didn't understand at first was the second witch. I believe it was the first sentence she said. Um, Coined the term hurly-burly, um, which is defined as a commotion. And I found this very funny, kind of ironic in a way, because she was almost looking at the great battle in the beginning between two great armies as kind of comical, saying, "Oh, we'll show ourselves after the commotion," kind of making it small when in reality it was big, is over. I found that pretty interesting. Um, Kind of reiterating for question four, back to what I found between male and female roles is that the female roles were kind of the brains of the operations. I mean, I can use a different example. The three witches, kind of working the kinks between Macbeth and Buncor, kind of saying, "Oh, this will happen to you, and this will also happen to you," and the male roles kind of going with that, being kind of the hand that does the deed and does the action. Um, but both of them kind of act on cruelty, to be honest. And I can bring the example of Lady Macbeth kind of working her magic with Macbeth, and kind of performing this cruel act of eventually killing King Duncan. And I found that's a similarity between the male and female roles in this story. Um, I think the cross-gendering that Shakespeare did with his plays didn't really allow the audience to kind of visualize what a female role actually would portray, how it would be portrayed. And I believe the female role would be played by a younger male. Um, and like I said before, I mean, men playing the role of the female characters, it never gave the audience a chance to see what a female would actually be like in this play. Um, and the two questions I asked were, is violence meant to be a focal point in Macbeth, or do we as readers portray it in that fashion? And how does the weather play a role in setting the dark mood? Would the mood be a bit brighter if Duncan was murdered on a cloudless full moon than compared to a thundering night?